Welcome to the Artificial Intelligence Podcast, ranked in the top 2% of over 7 million podcasts on Spotify. I'm your host, Dr. Tony Wong. Today with Ketan. Ketan, can you give us like a brief description of your background?
Well, Tony, first, thank you for having me and congrats on the 2%. I mean, that's pretty incredible. There's quite a lot of podcasts out there. I'm glad to be on your show and a big hello to all your listeners. Ketan Karkhanis, I'm the CEO of ThoughtSpot. We are an AI platform for analytics. And what we have been doing is transforming the world and bringing it from the world of legacy BI into the world of AI-driven analytics. We are out here in Mountain View, so I'm right here in my Mountain View office. We've got this wonderful space here. So if you guys ever happen to be in the neighborhood, come by. Would love to host all of you and show you what we're doing. Thank you.
So for the last 20 years, Tableau, BI, Looker, they sold like self-serve BI as the end
Right.
game.
Right.
And what they actually ship was the right to build your own dashboards. So I guess like who wakes up wanting to build another dashboard?
I mean, you know what? It's kind of sad. I just call it like the whole thing has been, in a weird way, it's self-service has been a hoax. It's like, oh, I'm going to give you self-service, quote unquote, insights. What does that mean? You need to build your own dashboards. Tony, do you know some of my customers come to me and they are like, Ketan, we have 50,000 dashboards built over years and we have no idea what to do with them. The answer to every question cannot be give me yet another dashboard. And I think so. The idea of self-service, though great in intent, has been terrible in terms of actual reality on the ground. You ask any business user today is where do you get your insights? And most of the time they'll struggle to tell you where they get it from. It's very simple. You have a question, you need an answer. And I think so finally, ThoughtSpot, we have a simple vision in life. We think the distance between you and the insight should be a question you ask. And what we did is we put the search and we said, hey, why can't you just talk to your data? That's our idea. But we went one step further. It's not just about talking to your data and getting the insight. It's connecting that insight to action. That is the second big missing part. The first big missing part was just give me the insight when I need it, where I need it. And the second part is why do you need these insights? You're trying to do something. Let's say you are a support leader and you want to drive NPS. Let's say you're a sales rep and you want to know whether this opportunity has any upsell chances, and so on and so forth. The second piece, the missing link is the action link. And I think so. This is the key part where ThoughtSpot plays a big role with AI, is not just giving you the insights that you need, but also connecting it to the actions you have to perform. Because the goal of data is not just, if your BI is just giving you good looking charts, I mean, it's just a pretty picture. You want a better picture of the future. And that's what ThoughtSpot's focused on. And we're having a lot of fun doing that across customers such as Veris, Hayat, Navan. We'll talk more about those along the show. But it's a very important point you mentioned. The distinction I draw is I think so dashboards don't really exist 5 years from now. The idea of self-service is now more real with what the agentic transformation we have done.
So like I've noticed that like every vendor now says like dashboards dying, but I
Right.
also see that everyone's still selling dashboards. So like I guess
Yes.
like what's going on with that?
Oh, because they don't have the technology. See, what has happened is all these legacy, let's put them in a legacy bucket, right? What they have done is they are giving their 20-year technology an AI paint job. That's what they're doing. They're giving it an AI paint job. You cannot have real self-service by putting AI on the side. You know how they do that, they'll have it. You have to have the platform, the architecture built ground up for AI. And that's a big distinction. Now, again, like, do I think like people will never see a chart in the future? I think so. Yeah, obviously there will be a chart. It's not like your car doesn't have a speedometer. That's not the point. The point is, how are you integrating those insights in your workflows, in your applications, in your products to drive better customer experiences, more productivity, more efficiency? And I'll tell you a great example of this. So, for example, we always think about quote unquote BI. We should stop saying the word BI, Tony. I don't think so. We should say dashboards are dead. I think so. We should say BI. is now it doesn't exist. AI is the new BI, and that's the future. So, for example, if you're a user of Navan, Navan is one of our great customers, and they use ThoughtSpot. But when you log into Navan and the internal application analytics inside is ThoughtSpot, because Navan wants to provide a data-driven experience to its users. Navan doesn't just want to provide dashboards to its users. And that's a big distinction. So I think so. What you're seeing happening in the world is this idea of integrated insights in the workflow, actionability driven by data, and now the third frontier that has opened up, which is agents, data-driven agents. And we can talk about that in a minute.
So I've noticed that like there's a new promise and like the insight finds you, the
Right.
user inside like
Correct.
say Slack, Salesforce on your
Mhm.
phone, wherever the work already happens.
Mhm.
So if like the dashboard stops being like say the destination,
Mhm.
like what does like a data team actually ship?
Oh, it's a fantastic question. I think so. For the longest period, the data team has been the most underutilized asset in your organization. People invest a lot in their data teams. People invest a lot in lakes and pipelines and all these sorts of things. But yet their entire employee base is hungry for insights. What has happened is we've taken the data teams and we have converted them into, how do I put it politely, into report monkeys. They're just creating reports. They're constantly being asked for, give me one more report, give me one more report, give me one more report, give me one more report. They are not called data reporters. They are called data analysts. The word analyst has a meaning to it. And I think so we have ended up their job. I think so. It's the best time to be a data analyst now because the role is now transformed and you are becoming an AI steward in your organization. You're becoming the AI whisperer in your organization. The role transforms from I will build a dashboard for you into now I am curating governed semantics for the organization and I'm giving you access to the underlying data governed by the semantic layer. So you can now do all sorts of AI on top of it, whether you're asking a question, whether you're having a data-driven workflow, or you're having an agent tap into it. So I think so the role becomes even more bigger because it's no longer about two charts on a page. It is about enabling semantics and AI for your entire company. And that's what we are seeing in a lot of these organizations. I'll give you the example of Verisk. Luis, who's one of the great data team members out there, they have been really working hard bringing data to all their insurance customers. And the role is not more dashboards there. The role is more insights. It's the best time to be in data, actually. Quite honestly, I think so. This is the best time to be in data.
Now, I find that if you take like a frontier model and you
Right.
point it at like a warehouse, I
Right.
find that the accuracy lands around say 50 to 70%.
Yes.
So in what other enterprise function does a like a 60% hit rate get to call itself like a product?
None. It's like, hey, you hit upon something super super important, and I would love to delve into it because by definition, AI is probabilistic. It's by definition, and by definition, analytics is deterministic. See, when you ask a question, what is my churn in Northeast? You don't want to get three different answers three different times you ask the question. But that's what AI does. Why? It goes back to the architecture we talked about. People are taking a shortcut. You know what they're doing? They're sticking an LLM on top of the data. They're using the LLM, they're passing all that million context to it, and they're making the LLM generate the SQL. Huge problem. Huge problem. I'll tell you, Tony, my best sales strategy. I tell people, try everything else, but keep my number handy because you will call me in 3 months. That's the difference of ThoughtSpot. What we have invented, the sustainable mode ThoughtSpot has, is we do not use the LLM to generate the SQL. It's quite counterintuitive. We use the LLM only to understand what you're saying and translate it into intent. From intent, we convert it to using our proprietary technology to what we call search tokens. And from search tokens, we translate it to SQL. So this becomes a repeatable, deterministic way of converting questions to answers. Two other big advantages that come out of it. One is transparency. Have you ever tried to ask the LLM the question, how did you generate the SQL? Don't you need to know how was the answer arrived? Don't you need an audit trail of it to build trust into your model? You can't do that. And second, I'm sure you've heard a lot about token costs, Tony. When you use ThoughtSpot, your token utilization goes down by at least 90%. Why? Because we do not use the LLM to generate the SQL. And that's a huge advantage. Customers very quickly try something, everything looks good in a demo, Tony. You know that, it's easy to show a demo. And in real life, Monday morning forecast call, or if you're the CEO and you're sitting in your staff meeting, or you're sitting in front of your board member, how confident are you of that answer you're getting? There cannot be, I'm 98%. It has to be 100%. And that's where ThoughtSpot's really differentiating itself, because LLM by definitions can't do that. Now, okay, maybe 10 years from now, somebody will invent it, but that's later. So it's surprising, this is the reason ThoughtSpot's been on I want to say a growth spurt, if you may, is because, we invented this idea of talking to your data, and now everybody's want to talk to their data, because obviously, but everybody's just putting an LLM on their data and they're failing, and then they come to us and then we help them do it the right way, the ThoughtSpot way.
I always thought it was interesting that most of the AI agents that I play around with, I'd like classify them as like really confident idiots. Right. And
that should be the title of your show.
So yeah, it's kind of funny because it's kind of true. So it's like every time I ask them a question, I say, how confident are you in this number? It'll like very confidently say it's like 90%. And
Right.
then I go, how did you get the 90%? And it's like, well, you caught me. I don't know. Like I just threw, I just came up with that number. So I guess like, how do you sell a number like that to a business when the thing producing it can't really tell you if it's, when it's wrong?
Yeah, but that's why you don't use that thing to produce the number. This is the trap people are falling into, Tony, and I feel for it. I feel for a lot of people out there. They're just sticking an LLM on structured data. I'll give you another big distinction, which I'm sure will resonate with your listeners, is LLMs by design were trained and built to assimilate and derive intent and understanding from unstructured data, right? The world's information. 95% of your business is rows and columns in your database. LLMs don't understand that. I'll give you an example. If your database has a column called rev underscore, what do you think the LLM is going to think it is? There's no way. Why? Because the semantics is missing. So I think so there are two things that are happening is, number one, defensibility of the number doesn't come by saying my algorithm is better. Defensibility comes with transparency. You have to show how you arrived at the answer. And a human being should be able to manually validate that answer. In ThoughtSpot, we have this capability where we show the token path and the actual SQL we built to answer the question. So anybody can audit trail it. And a funny thing happened, Tony, when we first came doing all this, people are like, how do I trust it? Just like you. How do I trust it? Like, what are you talking about? And they would click on explain and they would see the explanation. And very quickly we saw, like once they build the trust, they stopped clicking on explain, which is a very interesting dynamic that we saw develop. But I think so the key there is transparency. The key is very transparent. Most solutions out there, I'll not name them, they're just black boxes. They take their question, they shove it to an LLM, and they tell the LLM, give me a SQL. They're doing text to SQL. They're not doing analytics. You should ask those questions. You should ask, hey, give me a year over year trailing 12 months. Or if you're in, or give me a 4-4-5 calendar. They can't do all these things. So I think so this is the interesting part for us. The next part that has gotten even more interesting for us, though, is our embedded AI business. What has happened is, obviously people want all of this, but they want this to be in the application that their end customers are using. And that's been the biggest growth area for us right now is embedded, because can you imagine, Tony, using an application today that doesn't let you talk to the data? I mean, it's just like it's the default interface. So that's where all of that is going.
So I noticed that like roughly 40% accuracy, people are usually getting like 40% accuracy on just raw text to SQL. And then they get north of like say 90 once you put like a semantic layer that sits underneath it. So I guess like how come like the field's hyping up the raw text to SQL when it's just performing like less than 50% accuracy, I guess.
I think so. There are no shortcuts in life.
Hmm.
Let's be very clear. People hype a demo, they see one screen. We are in this world of, hey, mommy, look at me, I'm doing AI. It's no, I mean, that's actually a lot of people are gonna be are already in deep trouble because they do these quote unquote pilots, if you may, of showing this demo, and then their bosses tell them to take the pilot to production, and then they're stuck. They are in the the pilot hell. They are in the POC hell. They can't come out of POC hell because they don't have the right technology. I think so. What you're seeing is a transitionary phase where people are getting burnt because I'll tell you, having the right architecture matters. If your LLM is building the SQL for you, you've got the wrong architecture. It's not going to work because you're mixing probabilistic and deterministic, two different worlds, two different worlds. And yeah, I mean, some people, the other interesting part here is the LLMs are quite good at some things, which is making stuff up. They're really good at it now, but they're also good at the basic jobs. Like, for example, if you have a simple question, how many customers do I have? That's not a very that's like a simple counting question. The LLM's going to get it right. But now you ask the question, how many customers I have in the last 13 months, and give me a year over year and compare it to North America versus Europe. And oh, by the way, can you also tell me why my number of customers in the Southeast are less than the number of customers in the Northeast? That's like normal questions. Or, I'm the CEO. Tony, one interesting thing. I run my entire company on Spotter, one dashboard. I just have one dashboard for the entire company. Can you believe that? Just that's it, one dashboard. We actually call it one spot. You know how dashboards have names? Have you seen that? Dashboards have names. People give some names. So we call it one spot. And I have Spotter. So Monday, when I'm going to my leadership forecast call for sales, I'm asking Spotter, in the forecast meeting. And it's kind of funny. Spotter is sitting with me in my forecast call, quote unquote, sitting with me. And many times I'll ask the sales leaders would be giving me some, hey, this deal is moving, this deal's not moving. And I would be like, oh, okay, tell me exactly where this deal is. I would ask Spotter. And then Spotter gives me the answers. So I feel like what is happening is when you start using, I'm giving you an example of a demo is one thing, using it in real business is another thing. And that's where people are realizing this approach doesn't work. You have to have a sound architectural approach like what ThoughtSpot does. You have to have governed semantics. You have to have token optimization. You have to have another important point. An LLM doesn't understand role-based security. Tony, the data you get to see in the company is different from the data an intern gets to see in your company. How does the LLM know that? You have to have role-based security implemented. You have to understand the semantics of your business. So we feel very excited about where the market is right now. And if you take these 3-4 things that I mentioned, what you're going to see in the next 6 months is all of this noise is going to dissipate. All these demos are going to go away, and people are going to gravitate towards the real thing.
So if you had like a product that's like a natural language query on
Right.
dashboards,
Right.
you're now competing with like a free feature on say like Snowflake or Databricks that's
Mhm.
already bundled in the cloud in the data
Mhm.
cloud.
Mhm.
So the counter bet is to live natively inside them instead of fighting them. So do you think it's
Mhm.
like a partnership now, or is it like a kind of like a hostage situation?
No, actually, it's a blessing in disguise.
Mm.
I'm telling you, it's incredible. We just finished the Snowflake conference and the Databricks conference, and we are their elite partners. In fact, we are a double black diamond partner with Snowflake. And we are a very big partner with Databricks. We have large boots, large presence. No, I think so. It's natural to ask the question. However, I think so. There are two things that I would ask you to think, or ask anybody to think about. Number one, this idea of, hey, it is just bundled in the base product is not a new idea. Okay, I'll give you an example. Have you heard of this legacy product, Power BI? Right? Okay. Like, do you know everybody in the world basically has Power BI for free because it just comes with Microsoft E5 licenses? Like, if you have a Microsoft E5 license, you get Power BI or whatever that. But that doesn't mean everybody uses Power BI. Or if you have Salesforce, does everybody use Tableau? No, they don't. So I think so. What customers realize is ultimately value matters. That's number one point. Number 2 point is, in the case of Databricks or Snowflake, they're incredible partners. One, I don't think so their solutions are bundled in for free. They give you a free taster. In fact, as of July 6th, you have to start paying for Genie above a certain level for Databricks. I don't know if you've heard of that. So these prices, and customers do a side by side. But what is the biggest reason they choose ThoughtSpot is they don't want one point solution. They don't want just a conversational UI. They want an entire analytics platform that goes from internal analytics to embedded analytics to data-driven agents, where conversation is maybe one feature, if you may. So people who buy us are buying the platform and not a point solution. And that's how we differentiate. And that's why, beg your pardon, some of the deals we do are pretty large deals. Tony, I don't know if I shared with you, Tony, but do you know we have more than 32 customers that pay us more than $1 million of ARR each? So
Is
big
that like
ticket
per
item.
month or like what?
No, not.
Okay.
I wish it was per. If
Yeah.
it was per month, I would have a nice studio behind me instead of my kitchen. That's my kitchen. No, but that's like we do large platform transactions in these large corporations. They have access to Databricks, they have access to Snowflake, they have access to Tableau, they have access to Power BI, they have access to everything. But they still choose us because the product is differentiated and the AI leads to, we focus on ROI.
So if like Snowflake and Databricks, for instance, owns the data, and then you had like OpenAI and Anthropic owning the reasoning, and
Mm-hmm.
then in the middle sits like the analytics company.
Mm-hmm.
Is the middle like a moat now, or is it like a margin waiting to get squeezed from either side?
I mean, in theory, you can look at it that way, but in practicality, I don't think so. Snowflake and Databricks own anything. Yeah, they're housing some data, but like think about it this way. There is probably a small percentage of customers who say all my data is in one place. How many customers have told you all of their data is in one place, Tony? You do, how many? Like, no, data is everywhere, man. Some of the data
Yeah,
is,
data's everywhere. It's like
but
you
that's my
got
point.
you got one on one cloud, another one on a different cloud.
But that's my point. That's my exact point. Now, when you know the reality of your business is data is everywhere, you're a multi-data estate. Don't you need an intelligence platform that works across your data? A lot of these other companies you mentioned, their strategy, the legacy company strategy is AI paint job, but they're also saying, move all your data to me, and then everything's great. Like, what the hell are you talking about, man? How am I going to move all my data to you? What are you talking? Like, that just doesn't make conceptual sense. But that's the differentiation ThoughtSpot has. We work with your data wherever it might be. And I think so that's a very big point. That's why we are differentiated. And I'm not afraid of getting, obviously, I'm very lucky, me and my team. We have a lot of competition, you know, and that's great because that tells me we are doing something right. Otherwise, why would people compete with us? They're trying to do what we do. And as far as the OpenAI and all that, again, they are a wonderful partner of ours, both Anthropic and OpenAI and Gemini. And no, I mean, there's a big argument to be had that will the frontier model do everything Microsoft does and everything Salesforce does? You've heard of the SaaS clips and all these things that are going on. I tend not to subscribe to that line of thinking. Honestly, I don't think so. That's true.
I don't think I personally don't think it's going to happen because, in my opinion, this is my own knowledge. Speaking out of my own knowledge, but like a lot of language models, the amount of VRAM required to run these big models is like the number of parameters is like quadratic. There's a quadratic relationship to like the amount of VRAM on the
Right.
GPU.
Right.
It's because of like the transformer model. So
Mhm.
that means that like for really big models,
Right.
your frontier models, it requires like quadratic amount of
Mhm.
VRAM. And
Mhm.
so I don't think that like as models get bigger and bigger, we just need so much GPU resource that it's just like I don't think it there has to be like a different type of like transformer model, or like we have to move away from transformers in order for that to happen. Right now everyone's kind of in the comfy zone of like of just using what we've developed so far, but in order to like get to that point we do have to come up with a different type of architecture. And I know right now that they're trying to develop it on the frontier. It's just like productionalization, it's not going to happen anytime soon in my opinion.
Right. And I think so. It's a very important point you mentioned, and I agree with you. Look, I think so. We are mistaking the value LLMs bring to actually what the narrative in the industry is very different from the real value it brings, right? Now, is it true that now I can develop software faster? Yes, 100%. 100%. So by theory, one can say, hey, I'll just build my own software. I don't need to buy a Salesforce. But the reality is not build only for one thing. The reality is also conceptualizing that product. It's not just coding. If coding was the answer, everybody would build a great product, right? You have to conceptualize it, you have to understand it, you have to have sustainable differentiation with it, then you have to build it, maintain it, you have to have enterprise harnesses. A lot of customers I go, have you heard this nowadays? People say, I'll just build it in Claude.
Yeah. All
Yeah,
my friends do. You know what's funny?
yeah,
There's a side note, but I had a
yeah.
buddy who said that like he was like, I made this app, and he's like non-technical. So I'm like, I'm really curious. So I asked him for a link to the app, and he gave me like localhost 8080, and
Yeah,
I died inside.
yeah, yeah. And you're like, okay, all the best with that,
Yeah.
right? That's good. That's exactly what I mean. It's demoware. It is demoware. It's actually extremely misleading. And I think so the world is waking up to that because they see these demos and then they say, okay, give it to my 1,000 employees. Now I need to spend $1 million doing that. The fun example I give you is Tony, you don't need Claude, but you could go to O'Reilly Parts and AutoZone, these stores. You could buy all car parts from there. And this weekend, why don't you try to build a car at home? You could, in theory. In theory, you could try to build a car in your garage. You can buy all these parts on the internet. You can have them shipped and you can build a car over the weekend or whatever. You really going to do that? Are you really going to put your kids in that car and drive to work or school? No, you're not. It's cheaper and better for you to focus on what you do. So I think so. This DIY is not a new thing. I'll tell you a funny story. You sidetrack, so I'll sidetrack too. Before taking over as CEO out here in ThoughtSpot, I spent 13 plus years at Salesforce, doing a lot of things. I built Einstein Analytics, and my last job there was running Sales Cloud, their flagship product. Um, do you know, even then, our biggest competitor used to always be DIY. People who are saying, I'll build my own CRM. And then very quickly they realize it doesn't work like that. And you need to hire 100 engineers and you need to build it and all that stuff. So I think so. Look, small things, easy things, maybe. But some of the core things, your core technology, you could build it, but the amount of time, energy, the juice is just not worth the squeeze, man. That's all there is to it. The juice is not worth the squeeze. Why would you do that?
Yeah, I agree. So as like the frontier like is moving away from like
Right.
say give me an answer to like agents now like being able to pull tasks from say Asana and then running an
Right.
analysis and then writing the results back to like into Slack or something like that on their own. So
Mhm.
like what's like in your opinion what's like the first decision a company should let an agent make with like no human in loop?
Mm. Oh, wow. Nobody asked me that question before. Wow. Oh, thank you for asking the question. I'll tell you what we are doing internally. Maybe that because I'm the best user of my own products. So we have an incredible product, AgentSpot, which is an enterprise agent platform for data-driven agents. I'll give you three, four simple examples. Number one, uh, whether we should sign a particular NDA or not. It sounds like a simple task, right? But do you know, every time my sales team has to get some NDA situation or whatever, they have to send it to my legal team. My legal team then has to decide and approve, and that goes to a case. Takes 5 days. It takes people. We have, what's that agent's name? We named that agent Policy Panda. We have Policy Panda. The sales rep just submits it. It's completely hands-free. No legal team is involved. And it will tell you whether this NDA conforms with our standards or not, and whether you should sign it or not. It logs it because you need audit trail for legal, right? Like you need to know what it's doing. So it will log it. It will tell why it's approving it. It approves it. And if it doesn't approve it, it escalates to a human. It says, no, I can't approve this. Talk to a human being. So usually 4 or 5% of it probably goes to the human being, but that's getting approved. Now I'll give you another example in marketing. That's a great one. When a lead comes in, we have an agent that decides whether it's a qualified lead or not. Previously, we used to have humans doing it. And then based on the agent's interpretation, it will put it in a demand gen campaign and a campaign automatically, completely hands-free. A human being's not doing that anymore. I'll give you a third. I'll just go function by function by function, right, Tony? We could do this all day, but I'll give you an example in finance. Finance teams, these are small. All these examples I'm giving you, they're real in my company, finance, how people submit uh, expense reports and my accounts receivables, invoices outstanding. We used to have we have an AR team, right? They would follow up on accounts, invoices. Now I have an agent which does that end to end, including sending emails to the outstanding invoices. Can you imagine that? That's pretty incredible, right? That's like amazing amount of productivity freed up. My CFO is very happy that he's not having to put resources there. R&D, huge. I have almost 80 different agents working in my product organization. A human being is not creating documentation anymore now. Like my agents are doing it. Bug triage, very important point. When a case comes in, because I think so our products are really good, but sometimes it has issues, like it does, and then people open a case, a support case. So we've called an agent sentinel. They're all built on my platform, AgentSpot. So AgentSpot is the platform, but you know how people love to name things, so they've named it. So Sentinel will look at the case, analyze the case, go through our entire history, make a determination, what is this case, assign the right priority to it, update it in my case system. We use Salesforce Service Cloud, and then decide what the solution is, and then surface it to a human to say, I think this is the solution. Should I send it to the customer? It doesn't send it yet. I've not given it that permission because we are still wanting to be sure. But as you can see, we are a AI first agentic company already using AgentSpot. And I think so. This is just the beginning. What I'm seeing happen, Tony, is it's also changing how we hire people. Because right now, I'm not hiring people just for their skills. I'm hiring people for curiosity, courage, intuition, relationship management. And it's becoming a whole different ball game. It's becoming a whole different ball game. I don't need a person who's just going to move bricks from A to B. So I think so. You're seeing this agentic future. Every company in the world is going to be an agentic company. It's just going to happen. And what we are doing is helping everybody be that in a safe, governed way. And that's why you see ThoughtSpot taking off. But many, many more examples I could give you.
So, in your opinion, let's say like you take a moment where an agent acts on a wrong number.
Yes.
like someone has to be accountable, right? So
Yes.
like when it is confidently wrong, like who takes the blame for it? Is it going to be like, say, the vendor? Is it the data team? Is it the like the VP that signed off on the risk for that?
Mm,
Like
mm,
who's
mm.
who's at fault?
No, absolutely. Accountability and liability is always a big thing, and that's why I think so. It's a nuanced question, right? There are two aspects to it. One is the architecture. For example, this agent that I talked about, like this policy agent. I said policy panda. That's a great example. When it's making a determination on behalf of my commercial legal head. So my commercial legal head is owning that agent. So what we've figured out in our company is ownership. Agents are not running wild. Agents are quote unquote owned by the function. We think of agents as a incredible force multiplier. I'll tell you, I'm not a small company. I'm a pretty big company, doing pretty well. Gartner Magic Quadrant leader, all that kind of great stuff. But Tony, I'm competing with the Salesforce and the Power BIs of the world. They have 10,000, 30,000 people and engineers. I don't. I don't. But I have agents. And that means my one employee is equal to 10 because my employees are supplemented, augmented with agents. So my employees now have superpowers and we can go up against. So what it does, this is the message I have for all the executives out there listening to your show is this is a massive force multiplication. People are looking at this as cost saving. I think so. That's a tremendously big mistake they are making. If you're looking at AI to reduce cost, yes, that may be an outcome. But dude, you need to use AI to grow faster and take on competition and serve your customers better. This is not an OpEx play. This is a compounding growth play. It's a very big difference out here. So that's my big message, and that's how we use it. We are using it for force multiplication versus, I'm going to reduce 5%.
All right, I got one last question before we got to wrap this up.
Yeah, go
Running
for
it
it.
forward 5 years from now,
Yes.
the data analyst job as it exists today, do you think there's going to be either promotion, a pivot, or extinction?
Promotion, guaranteed. If they embrace the AI steward mindset, if they remain in the I am your dashboard person, I'm your report person, then I think so they go away. There is no job. But if they evolve there's this concept of seizing the moment. This is the moment. If you're a data analyst, a data team member, a data engineer, this is your moment to seize it, to focus on how do I enable governed data for my entire company and become the AI whisperer, become the AI steward. The future is theirs, actually. Every company is going to have, I'm making up a role name, but there are the people who can actually govern, manage, and implement and roll out AI are going to be the most strategic people in the company. And the data analyst and the analyst role is exactly where the action is because everything is connected to data. Otherwise, as you said, these agents are just confident idiots, man. Like they're not data driven. They have to be data driven. The data team is no longer going to serve humans only. Today, the data team is serving humans. I'm going to build you a dashboard. The data team is going to serve agents. And to talk to agents, they have to give the agents a governed data semantic layer. I think so. I think so. It's probably the most exciting time to be in the data team, but you have to embrace the moment. You have to embrace the moment.
Well, thanks so much for being on the show.
Yeah.
And for the listeners at home, stay curious.
Thank you so much, Tony, and appreciate the chance to speak to all of you. Thank you very much.